Whew, what a day, what a day, what a day. Honestly, at first I thought this day was shaping up to be fairly middling for the Avs. Nothing too exciting, nothing too crazy. They did some work in free agency, but it wasn't anything too special. And then they dropped an absolute bombshell on everyone. Nazem Kadri is an Av.
Como has a breakaway.
We will get to the big trade here in a bit, but first let's cover the Avs free agency because that came first, and they started off the day by signing Jonas Donskoi. Donskoi is a winger who has played the last 4 seasons for the San Jose Sharks. It's worth noting that he's a right-handed shooter, something the Avs really lack, especially on the wings. He has been a fairly consistent, roughly 35-point player throughout his career thus far, but there does seem to be some potential for more there because he was buried on the Sharks roster, often playing in the bottom 6. With the Avs, he should have plenty of opportunity to play in the top 6, potentially even the top line if he looks good enough. The Avs inked him to a 4-year deal at $3.9 million. I have zero problem with this contract regardless of where Donskoi falls in with his ceiling. Even if he stays the player he is right now, that's not a bad contract. Donskoi is another excellent skater that the Avs can add to their roster. He is also a player that looks quite good with the puck on his stick. He's not the biggest goal scorer with a career high of 14 goals, but he is consistent, scoring that both of the past 2 years, and also regularly puts up a solid amount of assists. If all goes well, he looks like he could be a player that solidly complements Burakovsky, the two playing off each other with Burakovsky being the trigger man. He also has other very solid underlying advanced stat metrics, and a lot of things trend towards the positive for him in getting more opportunity with the Avs. Of the free agency signings, he was easily the best move of the day, at least until that big trade came along. If he can take just one more solid step, he doesn't have to become an all-star for the Avs, but get himself up into that 45 to 50 point range, he could be a fantastic top 6 piece for them going forward over this 4-year deal. So with Donskoi locked in, that's a move that you're feeling pretty good about regardless of what the Avs do beyond that. It's not the biggest move, but it's a solid one. The next move they made was re-signing Colin Wilson. I'm not going to go into this too much. I'll touch on it more in his season review video, but the Avs did sign him to a 1-year, $2.6 million deal, so he will be part of the team this season. The deal itself is fine. You can plug Wilson into this Avs lineup and not have to worry about it. It is what it is for this year, and we'll see what the plan is for replacing him after that. The other free agency move the Avs made was bringing in Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, and I am not nearly as high on this move. In fact, I am down on it. Bellemare is what he is. He's a 4th-line grinder who is quite good at his job. He can be effective at shutting other teams down defensively and playing that style of hockey. He will be that high-effort, high-energy type of player, and the fans will enjoy him quite a bit. That's not the problem I have. The problem I have is he doesn't really fit into the Avs roster. Bellemare is a 15-point player per year, almost spot on. He is very consistent with that, and that just isn't providing much value, especially when you consider that the Avs signed him to a 2-year deal at $1.8 million. When you consider that he's going to be blocking a spot from a Vladislav Kamenev or potentially an AJ Greer or Martin Kaut if they decide to play him on the wings, now he's kind of just in the way. Signing 4th liners is just not a way to get your team over the hump. Yes, they may make your team marginally better in that area, but in the grand scheme, they aren't moving the needle basically at all. I get it. He's a center and he takes face-off well, and that does have some value, but I don't think it has $1 million more value than, say, playing an AJ Greer or a Martin Kaut. The Avs have a 4C just fine in Vladislav Kamenev to play that role, and they're still going to want to get Bellemare in the lineup as well, so it's likely that one of Kamenev or Bellemare ends up on the wings. And then you're blocking a Martin Kaut or an AJ Greer, and you're just not getting the value out of your prospects that you need to be, and on top of that, you're not getting the knowledge on your prospects that you need to be for the future. Bellemare fine player. He'll be solid on the Avs fourth line. It was just an unnecessary move, especially after the fact when the trade happened. So right there is where free agency ended, and I wasn't overly hyped on it. I thought the Avs did solid with Donskoi and didn't like the Bellemare move from the get-go. Re-signing Wilson was fine. But the Avs didn't really do anything big. They didn't solve their biggest problem, which was going out and getting a legitimate second-line player. They had saddled themselves with a bunch of question marks. Can Donskoi take it to the next level? Can Burakovsky take it to the next level? Can Tyson Jost take it to the next level? They had a bunch of questions, and they didn't provide themselves a ton of answers. But maybe old GM Joe was just pulling a fast one on it, because then he made the trade, and this trade seemed to get everything to fall into place. All of a sudden, a lot of the moves the Avs had made over the past half a week started to make a lot of sense. So let's get to the trade. It is officially the Avs receive Nazem Kadri, Calle Rosen, and a 2020 third-round pick in exchange for Tyson Barrie, Alex Kerfoot, and a 2020 sixth-round pick. Let's cover the Avs side first. Tyson Barrie is an elite offensive defenseman. On that side of the puck, he's one of the best in the league, no doubt about it. At the same time, he'll also drive you crazy in the defensive zone with some of his errors. All of that is great, and the Avs are going to miss Tyson Barrie. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But he had 1 year left on his contract, and it was not looking like the Avs were going to have room to sign him, especially after they drafted Bowen Byram. Moving Barrie was something that has been swirling for over a year now, and it seemed like it was bound to happen. I'm glad that they got it done. I'm glad that they got it finished. And honestly, I'm happy with the return. Now, they also moved Alex Kerfoot, and that is not something you can completely discount. Kerfoot has been a 40-point player for the past 2 seasons, and that is certainly not nothing. The thing is, especially with the moves to go get Burakovsky and Donskoi, where Kerfoot fit into the roster now seemed very unclear. And given all the forwards that the Avs have added at this point to make room for Kadri, someone had to be moved, and Kerfoot there is pretty decent value. Kadri is certainly going to provide more for the Avs offense than Kerfoot did. I do think the Avs may have overpaid a little bit, considering they retained 50% of Barrie's salary as well. If that third-round pick they got had been a second or maybe even a first, I think you would have been talking at closer to fair value there. But I'm not going to nitpick this value too much, because I do think this is a very good trade for the Avs as is. So let's talk about what Kadri brings for the Avs, and the answer there is it brings exactly what they need. A bona fide two-center that can provide production and take that line where it needs to go. When playing 2C for Toronto, Kadri was capable of being a 60-point player, more realistically maybe a 50 to 55-point player, but still a very good 2C and scoring 30 goals. That is exactly what the Avs need. He's able to drive that line, and when you put a player like that up with question marks, whether it be Donskoi, Burakovsky, or even maybe a Jost, that is something that they can play off of, and it will make everyone on the line better. On top of this, Kadri also has a lot of edge to his game, and the Avs lack that certainly quite a bit on their forward core. It's something they could use more of. Yes, it has gotten him into some trouble at times, and they would do well to curb that a little bit, but overall, I think that's a plus for the Avs. The sound of having a top 6 that is Landeskog, McKinnon, Rantanen, Kadri, Donskoi, and Burakovsky, well, that actually sounds pretty good. On top of that, Kadri is on a great contract. 3 years left at $4.5 million. That is a steal for him, and could be a key factor in the Avs acquiring more pieces in the future to really make a push. The Barrie to the Leafs for Kadri rumors have been swirling for a long time, and honestly, it was because it was a really good fit, Kadri coming to the Avs. The fact that that's happened, I call that a win. On top of that, the Avs also get Calle Rosen, and Rosen is an interesting defenseman. He falls into that offensive defenseman mold, had a fantastic year in the AHL last season, and very well could earn a spot on this team out of camp. He has not had much opportunity to play in the NHL, just 8 NHL games, but what little he's shown there is positive offensively, and this past season he's proven that he is well beyond the AHL as far as scoring is concerned. This is a little bit interesting that they got Rosen, as now Rosen, Connaughton, and Graves, potentially Barbario or maybe even a Byram, will be competing for that defensive spot. Ultimately, that will likely be the sixth D-man spot, but with Ian Cole out till likely December, you're going to need two of those players for a good portion of the season. So Rosen isn't going to replace Barry. That would be ridiculous to assume, but he fits the same mold of player and may help replace him as far as the hole in the roster is concerned. Getting a 2C and a potential roster defenseman for 1 year of Tyson Barrie and Alex Kerfoot, that's not bad. In fact, I would say that's pretty good. Throw in the swapping of picks for the Avs moving from the 6th up to the 3rd, and hey, you gotta like this trade. And honestly, I think both sides like this trade. Kadri is an answer to so many of the questions the Avs had presented up till this point, and I think he answers quite a few of them. Still don't really understand why the Avs went out and got Bellemare. Still not super sure what Connaughton is doing on the roster at this point either, but overall, the Avs had made themselves a better team before the trade, and with the trade, I think they have actually made a significant indent into becoming the contender they want to be. Are they all the way there yet? I'm not sure. I think there is still some room for improvement on the roster, and there are still some question marks. How far can Jost get? How far can Comfer get? Can Burakovsky and Donskoi reach their potentials, or is only one of them or none of them going to really get up to where we want them to be? We don't know, but we do know Kadri is going to be rock solid down the middle for them. To end the silliest day of silly season with a big move like that I am overwhelmingly positive on, well, that just gets me excited for next season, even if it is months away. I think everyone is expecting the Avs to be a playoff team next year, and with these moves, there's no doubt about it. They should be a legit force in the Central Division. How far can they go? Well, that remains to be seen, but this is a good to very good team. The question is, how close are they to great? That is the end of this game video review. I'm sure if you want to see the Leafs side of things, Steve Dangle will of course have a video up at some point. I'll link it at the end. But thank you for watching, and as always, a special thank you to all of my contributors on both PayPal and Patreon. I appreciate every name you see here so very much, and if you like content like this, consider throwing a couple bucks my way at the links in the description of the video. I'm Rudo3, and I really do think that trade sealed the deal for the Avs. It was what brought it all together.
Avalanche time, come on, grab your friends. We're going to the playoffs again. With Nate the dog and Gabe the big. The fun isn't over yet. It is Avalanche time.